first of all, I want to warn you, because it happens to our children too, that after every trip, there is something known as after trip depression. It's real. Okay.
I call it the post-adventure blues.
Yes.
We all experience it. After something amazing afterwards, you're like, "Bleh."
So first of all, know that that's coming and don't be shocked by it. And in fact, don't
react to it.
But have some sympathy maybe and be like, oh yeah, I know. I was literally with my, I call it vacation hangover. Exactly. I was literally with my daughter today. She's like, oh, I'm so sad. I'm like, yeah, because the trip's over now, right? And so you just have to respect that. It's a natural, normal thing. And we don't have to be like, you're so ungrateful. What's your problem? You should be happy for the next 2 years because of that trip, you know? That doesn't work. It's not true. It's just normal biology. That's all it is. When you have huge hits of dopamine, which is what happens on a trip, there's a natural decline afterwards. And so it feels sad or depressing, even though you may not be, you know, lower than normal. You might just be going back to normal and that feels sad, right? So that's one thing, to recognize that that's just a part of it, and that's okay. As far as continuing the motivation
is like food.
Yeah.
You know, if you just eat on Sunday and you're like, hey, I'm good for the rest of the week, by Wednesday, you're going to feel miserable. Motivation is just like food. You have to keep feeding the motivation. And most of us just aren't very good at it. We don't prioritize it. So you have to keep the motivation going with books, with adventures, with connections with cool people, with the next thing on the calendar. I still operate like this. I'm 45 years old. I've lived multiple lifetimes already. And still, my calendar, if you guys were to look at my calendar, I've got things lined out that keep me motivated and going and excited. I'm looking forward to more things.
We're still looking for the next trip. That's what we're excited about, right? Because it makes life more exciting. Now, the challenge, just like with eating, you cannot feed someone motivation. They have to eat themselves. But what you can do is you can first feed yourself, because if you're not fed on motivation or food, you're not very pleasant to be around either, right? We get hangry. It's a real thing and it causes problems. The same is true with motivation. If we aren't feeding ourselves motivation and being motivated and motivating, we can't expect our kids to be motivated or motivating. So we have to feed ourselves. And then just like feeding your kids, you can't make them eat per se. I mean, maybe when they were small, but you know, teenager, you can't make them eat, but you can prepare meals for them. And so for me, I prepare opportunities for motivation. Now, one of my favorite things to do, in fact, we used it on the trip because it works for adults and children, is I prepare a meal, and during the meal, we do what we call it a Devo or a devotional. We do a Devo. And that's how we inject regular motivation into our family, is because we have the food, they come for the food, and then we do the Devo while they're there. And it works like a charm. We do it all the time. And so even on this trip, we gathered everyone together. We said, we're having breakfast, everybody, at this place. But the real reason was we wanted to do a devotional. But if you're like, guys, we're going to do a devotional at this, everybody's like, I don't want to go for a devotional. But if you go for food, they want to go for the food. So we will prepare meals and prepare motivation to share during the meals. Now, this isn't a lecture because that's not motivating. This is actual motivation, which is why you have to feed yourself, because then when you show up, you're actually motivated and excited about things, and you get to talk about it, and you sound exciting. And when you sound exciting, that sounds exciting. They get excited when you're excited. So you have to actually get excited about something in life, or else you're never going to motivate them, because they're just going to be like, Mom, you just sound so bored and depressed.